So we always like to bring in someone from outside the region a little bit, and that's our first keynote speaker with Lily. So Lily started companies on the coast. She's here in the Midwest again. She is a VR and AR expert, and I'm not going to give away any of her slides too much, but I believe last year she was recognized as one of the top 100 women in the AR and VR industry within the nation. And she is, she's going to showcase a lot of things. I won't give it away too much. But what I want to do is I'm going to give her a round of applause as she comes up. So let's get this started. Ready?
Good morning, Cincinnati. How are we doing this morning?
Excellent.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear. It is Cincinnati Startup Week, and today is the best of all because it's about virtual and augmented reality. It feels good to be back here in the city. I'm originally from Michigan. Don't hold it against me, but I got my career start right here in Cincinnati. I was hired out of college to be a manufacturing IT consultant, and it was my job to go to plants and analyze their processes, people, and assembly lines to see where our manufacturing software best fit. I quickly learned, though, it didn't matter how great our software was, it wouldn't work unless we had buy-in from the business and the people who were going to use it every day. In 2016, I left consulting to co-found a virtual reality startup. I was brought on because of my expertise in using technology to solve business problems. But we first had to overcome a different type of problem with virtual reality. And that was our customers asked, what is VR? So virtual reality is being in a completely computer-generated simulation. The objects you interact with and your environment around you is 3D, encoded from the computer. We're also going to talk about augmented reality today. So augmented reality are when digital images are overlaid in your real environments. I'm also going to mention mixed reality, which is the spectrum between AR and VR. All right, so after we explained what virtual reality was to our customers, they thought that it was cool and they really enjoyed our simulations. But when it came time to the sale, there suddenly seemed to be something wrong. Don't headsets give you a headache? They would ask after being in a 20-minute demo. The hardware was too expensive or their PCs weren't powerful enough to run the simulation. So virtual reality has come a long way since 2016. We see it follow standard marketing and product cycles, including Moore's Law. So every 18 to 24 months, a new headset that's lighter, faster, or more powerful is released to the market. For instance, in 2016, the HTC Vive cost close to $1,000, and that didn't count the powerful gaming computer you needed to run it. Today, you can buy the Oculus Go, a standalone headset, which means it doesn't need a PC to run it, for just under $200. That's a big improvement. In fact, the Gartner Hype Cycle recently moved virtual reality out of the trough of disillusionment onto the slope of enlightenment. Augmented reality is still in the trough, but I have no doubt it will be on the slope of enlightenment soon enough. I spoke to my fellow augmented and virtual reality industry leaders as to how they break down the barriers to AR and VR, and how they identify where immersive technology fits into the enterprise. For my companies out in the audience today, my goal is for you to leave empowered to ask educated questions about virtual and augmented reality. And for my startups in the crowd, I'd like you to just pay attention to where these companies are from. Because this week is about the Cincy Startup scene, and I want you to leave empowered and inspired by what you can accomplish here in the city. So with that said, let's jump right in to breaking down the barriers to entry in AR and VR. I spoke with Amy Eaton, who is the co-founder and CEO of The Tourist, an immersive tech startup company now in Atlanta, Georgia. And she told me for her customers, the biggest barrier to entry is their mindset. But getting them to open up their mindset to using the technology is the first step. But opening your mindset to using a new type of technology is also about future-proofing your business. Because we don't invest in technology just because it's cool, although that's a big reason. Technology lowers costs, increases productivity, and improves customer relations. And that's what virtual reality and augmented reality can do. In fact, companies like Couture's and the startups you'll meet here today are doing just that, with simulations like product development and prototyping, training simulations, marketing, and more. But they're not the only ones. Did you know psychologists have been using virtual reality since the 1980s? I spoke to one psychologist, Dr. Paige Anderson, who used virtual reality to help her clients overcome the fear of flying after 9/11. I also met Elizabeth Barron, who invented PHI for the Ford Motor Company in the late 1990s. PHI stands for Ford Immersive Vehicle, Environment, Process, and Technology. And Ford has been using and improving this technology ever since. They use it to prototype cars, test manufacturing variations, and tell customer stories by bringing them to light in an immersive reality. That's pretty powerful. So one could almost ask, are companies who are just now interested in immersive technology too late to the game? Well, maybe not. Virtual reality is growing just like website design and mobile apps. 15 to 20 years ago, if you wanted a website, you had to either hire a developer or learn how to code in JavaScript and HTML yourself. But today, you can make your own website in minutes using a platform like WordPress or Squarespace. And you're able to do this with these platforms because these companies took code and you turn it into a product. So each icon you drag and drop across the screen as a snippet of HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So the same thing is happening with AR and VR. It's becoming configurable. So what this means is you don't need to know how to develop in Unity to create your own experience. And to prove just that, I turned my business card into its own augmented reality experience using a site called Flipper. So without needing to know any code, I was able to drag and drop buttons so my business card links to LinkedIn or Twitter just by scanning it. And this is impressive because I am not a coder or a programmer. I think the last code I worked on was in 2011, and my developer friend needed to finish it for me. So here you can see I'm scanning it with my phone, and we'll have the buttons, and you can go right to my Twitter profile. So if I'm able to do this in a matter of minutes, imagine what you can with a dedicated team. So you may say, that's great, Lily, I can create my own immersive experience, but what's the point if it's going to become outdated with the new release of a headset or UI? Well, we're seeing standardization in content as well. So this is a screenshot example from the software that my startup made. And what it's showing is that the same program runs across multiple devices. And we were able to do this with just minimal changes to the code, or none at all. And most of the time, your same content will actually run faster and look better on a headset that has more processing power and higher resolution. A time when you might need to update your code is for when you have different types of immersive technology. An example of this is Couture's. They have a customer that's a construction company. And what Couture's did was created an augmented reality app for that construction company to model their equipment. And with some slight changes and adjustments to the code, they were able to create a virtual reality training simulation. And again, with some slight adjustments and changes to the code, they created a mixed reality experience for the marketing team. So think of it like Microsoft Office. You don't need to get a whole different type of Microsoft Office every time you buy a new computer. I mean, Office works a little differently on a Mac versus a PC, but if you stick with PC, you can just use the same Office. Or think of it like Google Docs. You can open Google Docs in Word and read it, but the format just may be a little different. But I have one type of headset and my colleague has another. Well, the great thing is we're seeing standards in hardware as well. In fact, according to one VR hardware manufacturing company in West Michigan who I spoke to, the threshold has been met for hardware. In fact, it's this threshold that allows them to create different types of virtual reality hardware besides headsets without having to worry about customization. One of the reasons they don't have to worry about customization is because big companies like Microsoft are investing heavily in the States. So Microsoft created the HoloLens, which is a mixed reality headset. It's standalone. It's standalone, which means it doesn't need any extra peripherals. It has inside-out tracking, processing power, everything is in the headset. And after creating that, they set OEM manufacturing standards for all their hardware partners. So that means companies like Samsung, Acer, Asus, Dell, and HP are all able to devote more resources and innovate faster on building their headsets because they don't have to worry about starting from scratch each time. So you'll notice that each of these brands of headsets has the same type of controller, and that's Microsoft. So 2 years ago, the Samsung headset didn't have any controllers, but today they do, and they have one of the higher quality mixed reality headsets on the market. So Microsoft is also a great example of how hardware and software can come together. All right, so raise your hand if you have a Windows 10 PC at home or work. All right, so I have an assignment for you. When you go home, open the mixed reality viewer. And here you can create your own mixed reality experience without needing any fancy gear or knowing how to code. You can pull in objects from the Microsoft database to interact with your environment around you. You can even go and open Paint 3D to edit a 3D model or create your own. And then you can import this into the mixed reality viewer to create an experience. And if you happen to have a mixed reality headset, you can experience your creation there as well. So a really simple example of how this works is I imported this ice cream unicorn into my office. And you can see it moves where I look and it interacts with my hand gestures. So imagine being at work and needing to show how Prototype interacts with an environment or create a quick training simulation without having to go to your development team. Well, you can now do this because of configurable immersive reality software. And it's like playing. Okay. So now that I've shattered all your excuses as to why AR or VR won't work, let's talk about how to identify where immersive technology fits into the enterprise. And we're going to do this in 3 steps. The first is to educate, the second is the discovery phase, and the third, and most fun, is the experiment and prototype. So the very first step to finding out where immersive technology fits in the workplace for your company is through education. There's a lot of hype right now in the media around VR and AR. And educating yourself will level set expectations and help the company avoid from investing in any gimmicky software. So education is also important depending on who in the business you're talking to. And it's important for everyone to have this education because upper management might need a different course around how immersive technology can fit into the higher strategy of the company, where a marketing or development team might need a more technical course on the intricacies of VR and AR and how to develop for them. And finally, don't forget about educating your customers. Because a lot of the times, what we're doing with immersive technology is for them. We want them to be able to experience what we're building in a new way. But if they don't know how to do that, then our efforts are no good. So after education comes what Tours calls the discovery phase. And anyone who's done software implementation before, this step should sound familiar. This is where a consultant, like one you may need today, comes in and takes an end-to-end snapshot of your business. And they'll do this with interviews, diagramming, and reporting back. Now this is an essential step because we can't know where immersive technology, or any tech for that matter, can solve problems unless we know how the business works and what the processes are. So oftentimes you can talk to multiple people in a department, and each person will have a different idea of how that department works and whose roles are what. But by putting it all down on paper, we can get agreements from the business on what it's doing, what it should be doing, and where immersive technology can fill in the gaps, or create and transform whole new processes. So the last step is experiment and prototype. And this is the most fun. So I call it an experiment because experiments are a lot less risky than full-blown product implementations. They last for a shorter amount of time, they have an end date, and it takes a lot of pressure off the technology and the project team for making it a success the very first time. Plus, we can learn a lot from a prototype without all the fancy bells and whistles. So an example of experiment and prototype is Dixie Cups. For tourists, that immersive company in Atlanta, Georgia, worked with Dixie Cups to create an AR experience using the mobile app Flipper. So Dixie Cups started with 12 different designs, and using focus groups, narrowed it down to 3. And one of those is the solar system. So you can buy a package of cups, and each cup will have a planet in the solar system. So here's a video. You can scan it with Flipper, and you'll notice I have Neptune on my cup, and Neptune will pop up on the screen. From there, you can customize a rocket ship, and your rocket ship will fly through the solar system to the planet you scanned, giving nifty educational tidbits along the way. This simulation lasts for 2 minutes. Why 2 minutes? That's the recommended amount of time that you should brush your teeth. So this prototype got over 100,000 uses and thousands of hours of active engagement. So what made it so successful? First, it had buy-in from the business to use an AR app. Second, it met a business need. Dixie Cups needed to differentiate itself from other generic vacuum cups in the marketplace. And they did it in a way that made sense to their customer. Most everyone now has a smartphone and understands how to download an app and use their camera. And thirdly, this met a real customer need. So I remember being a kid and my mom set the kitchen timer down on the bathroom sink and told me to brush until it buzzed. And that 2 minutes felt like an eternity. But I know if I could watch my rocket ship fly through space, it would make brushing my teeth a whole lot more fun and take a lot of stress out from my mom. Right. I spoke to Mark Metry, who runs a VR ad agency in Boston, and he also hosts a successful podcast. For his podcast, he recently interviewed Adam Fisher, who wrote The Uncensored History of Silicon Valley. And in interviewing Fisher, Mark learned that Silicon Valley is getting too big. It's becoming too expensive to live and work there. So startups are starting to go to other innovation hubs around the US, like Austin, Texas, Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington. So what we're starting to see is that companies aren't needing to go to just one city to be successful. They're able to go to an area that has a specific area of expertise. So yesterday, I learned that Cincinnati is the brand capital of the world. And I thought, well, immersive technology, branding, that goes hand in hand. So I asked you today, what else is Cincinnati good at? What are their strengths? And how can we nurture those strengths with the startups and young companies here in the city to make Cincinnati the immersive technology innovation hub of the Midwest? How cool would that be? When I set out to talk today, I was prepared to just tell individual stories of the companies I talked to. But I quickly started to see that each of them were facing similar problems. Breaking down barriers to entry, helping the customers find where immersive technology fits. And I think that the signs of them facing the same problems is showing that the industry is maturing. What we're seeing is VR and AR aren't just happening in one place, it's happening everywhere. And customers and companies are solving real business challenges with this technology. So to recap what we learned today, don't invest in gimmicky software or fall for the hype factor. And you can do this by educating yourself. Focus on real business needs. And you can do this by putting effort on your people and business first, and then the type of the technology to use second. We learned that AR and VR software is becoming configurable and hardware is standardized. And finally, it's not where you're going, but where you come from that makes the difference. So virtual and augmented reality is solving real business use cases. And we're starting to see tech ecosystems pop up all around the US. Companies no longer have to fly out to the West Coast for a demo because they can get one right in their own states and in their own cities. Ryan A. Bell was the first person to stream a presidential farewell address live in 360 degrees. And he spoke about his experience at VR Day Atlanta, telling the crowd, don't forget to tell them you're from Georgia. I'm here to tell you the same thing. Don't forget to tell them you're from Ohio. Yes?
For the education component, what do you recommend to start with? Any kind of focus? Where would you start to learn more and educate yourself as a business?
That's a great question. I would start by hiring a VR consultant, actually. He's asked when looking at educating a company on immersive technology, how do you even start? And I would recommend going to a VR company and asking them to give a course. Because companies like the tourists, and maybe some of the ones here today, actually have that as a service. And so they have courses built in and can tailor it to what you're looking to do and learn.
I will kick right into it. Thank you, Lily. Let's give another round of applause. Okay, so next.